This is the live. It's Wednesday, 5:30. So we come to you on Wednesdays, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And today it's all about Q&A. So if you have friends, if you have family, other people that are interested in learning how to invest right here in the Chicagoland area, guess what? We're the one and only source that give you the complete information about investing specifically in the Chicagoland area. Having said that, let's jump into it and let's get started. So we have a whole bunch of questions that we were asked, and let's find out what these questions are, and we jump right into it. So number one question was that I see a house which is listed on Zillow, and it has a different square footage in two different listings. Where do I find out the real square footage? So this is kind of tough, because the way in different MLS systems, this is treated differently. Like if you're in certain MLS systems, say in Florida, you have to have accurate square footage in your listings. In Illinois, specifically, as we talk about the Chicagoland area, you can have one house that's a split level house where they counted the square footage in the lower level, and then in another house that's right next door to it, and there they don't count it. So this house shows up as a 1,200 square foot, and this house shows up as a 2,100 square foot. And it's exact same property, same square footage, same width versus the length of the property is the same. So why the difference? Because what happens is whenever we put a listing in our MLS service, the way to properly put the listing is the way you measure square footage is not inside the property. The way to measure square footage is outside the property, which is the outer. So you basically go length of the width of the property minus the depth of the property, and then go across most properties are not a perfect rectangle, so then you have to measure outside. That's the right proper way of measuring square footage on a property. Now, if you have a two-story, then you have to measure, double it. But what if you have a two-story property and you have a basement that's finished? Even though it's finished square footage, so let's say hypothetically you have a property 1,000 square foot, 1,000 square foot upstairs, and then you have a basement that is 1,000 square foot. So is that a 3,000 square foot property, or is that a 2,000 square foot property? Well, it depends, right? Because is it under grade, meaning under the grade of the level? Or if it's a hillside ranch where, let's say you have a walkout basement, now do you consider the grade on the front of the house or on the back of the house, right? So that's the reason why it's kind of difficult. But the proper way to know the square footage is going to be if you have a floor plan of the property, right? Architectural drawing, that's the exact way of measuring what the exact house is. Or if you actually go and measure it from the outside. So that's kind of how you measure for it. To know the real square footage, you can try to go to the county website and see, but even if it's reported incorrectly over there, you're not going to know. Because what if they finished the basement? What if they finished the lower level? It was not finished before. So it's difficult to know that what the square footage is without you actually going and measuring. But you can get a gauge of what it is looking at the properties that are listed in the area and then gauging it that way. But Abdul asked that question. It is very difficult to know the exact square footage in Illinois. In Florida, some other places where they require you to report the right square footage in terms of standards, like Florida doesn't have any basements, so it's easy, right? A lot of properties are ranches, so it's easy to know the square footage. But in Illinois, around the Chicagoland area, there is no such requirement. So the agent can pretty much put in any square footage to the most extent, and then say provided by owner, right? And so then there's no way to hold them to the property. Next question was, what is the difference between a property that is a foreclosure, that is a property that is a bank-owned property, and then that is a property that is a short sale? So this question specifically relates to, as we talk about auction.com, as we talk about Xome, X-O-M-E. Those are two of the bigger websites for buying properties off market or buying properties from auction websites. So what is a foreclosure? So let me just explain the three terminologies, and then we will kind of will go from there. So foreclosure, right? A lot of times people will say, well, that's a foreclosure. Well, does that mean it's a property that is in the process of foreclosure, meaning they have not been making payments, the bank has filed a case against them, and now the property is being taken towards an auction? Is that what it is? Or is this a property that is already been foreclosed upon? So that is something that becomes important to keep in mind, is you have to know what is the property, right? Is it a foreclosure where the property has been foreclosed upon? So the basic way of understanding is that once a property goes into a pre-foreclosure situation where they have not been making payments and now the property is in a pre-foreclosure process, right? So at that time, it's called pre because the auction has not happened. So that's one stage. Then it's the auction, meaning the sheriff's sale or the trustee sale, when the property gets sold. Then two things can happen. Either an investor buys a property or the property is going to become a bank-owned property, meaning now the bank becomes the owner. So when you're bidding on a property at auction.com or on xome.com, the types of properties that they have is they display three different categories, specifically as it pertains to auction.com. Number one is going to be a property that is is called foreclosure, right? Foreclosure, by their definition, the way they mean a foreclosure is this is a property that is going to auction, that is a live auction, which is also called a sheriff sale. So it's called a sheriff sale or trustee sale. In Illinois, we call it a sheriff sale. So these are properties that are not auctioned off on auction.com. They're just displayed there for your information. Now, at some point in the future, they may start doing that, but that's going to be a little bit of a tedious process. But at this point, you can't buy those there. You have to go to the live county auctions. Now, which are the properties you can buy? So the two types of properties that you can buy on auction.com are properties that are bank-owned property. So it'll say bank-owned property, and it'll say short sales. So those are the two types of properties that you can actually buy at the on auction.com or on xome. So that is the difference. Bank-owned property to buy is pretty safe. Only thing you have to make sure is that the property is, whether is it vacant or is it occupied. So you don't have to worry about title because title insurance is provided. So if you're from Mastery, you're good to bid. If you're not in Mastery, still, if you want to bid, that's fine. If you're in Mastery, obviously send us the property and we will make sure we look at it for you so that you're not buying something that we don't want you to buy. And so you're not bidding on the property at a number that doesn't make sense. So we'll check the number for you and then you're welcome to bid. The short sale properties are also excellent opportunities for you to bid on auction.com or xome, both places, because the great part is you have all the time in the world to make a decision. Then the offer is submitted to the bank. Then the bank makes a decision and comes back to you. And then you can say whether I want to buy the property or not, right? So that's the beauty of that whole process. So great way of finding properties. We've bought lots and lots of properties there. Hubzu is also another big website. HUDhomestore.gov is also another big website to be able to buy properties that are sold in an auction style way. So hopefully that makes some sense. Now, the other question was, can I'm not from Mastery, I'm not from Platinum Mastery, can I go to the sheriff's sale and bid on a property? And what is the danger of buying a property at sheriff's sale? So here's the problem when you're buying a property at sheriff's sale. So if you're from Platinum Mastery, I'll speak to that really quick to differentiate that. If you're from Platinum Mastery, we're guaranteeing the title for you. You don't have to worry about title. We're making sure you're buying lien number one. We're making sure if there's any tax liens, if there's anything else liens, is taken care of. The problem is when the general public goes to a sheriff's sale and bids, right? You don't know whether you're bidding on lien number one, whether you're bidding on lien number two, or lien number three, or if there's other liens that exist that are not named in that particular foreclosure. So why this is so important is because you need to understand what you are bidding on, right? That is the most important process, that you have to understand that what are you bidding on at those auctions? Because a lot of times at those auctions, people end up buying a property, because when you go to the auction, they don't say that, hey, this is lien number 1 we're selling. What they say is, they'll say something like this, 19CH 4425. So what does that mean? That means 19, meaning the year when the foreclosure was filed. CH means Chancery Court. And then it's going to be a file number 225, or whatever that file number is. So they're going to say 19CH 225, and they'll read the property address. But that doesn't say that when you read the property address, it doesn't say lien number 1 going to auction. What they say is, they just say the 19CH 225 123 Haddock Street, right? And opening bid 98,000, and then people start bidding. And just because other people are bidding does not mean you're bidding on lien number 1. So it may be lien number 2, lien number 3. We've seen people buy properties and make huge mistakes. The problem with the sheriff's sale is this: if you don't know what you're doing, please, 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 for God's sake, do not go and bid on a property there, because the biggest mistake is not buying a property that is inside, the person has done damage, you haven't seen the property inside. The biggest mistake is if you buy the wrong lien on the property. You buy the lien number 1, lien number 2, the lien number 1, you can go ahead. We have had situations, Streamwood, we bought a property on Oltendorf where we bought the lien number 1. Somebody had bought a lien number 2 on that property for $98,000. They went ahead and rehabbed the whole entire property. Then the lien number 1 goes to sale. We bought that property for $28,000 on Oltendorf and Streamwood. And guess what? They could not do anything. Their whole position, they lost $140,000 on that property. So when you're going to sheriff sale, this is important to know, sheriff sale and or trustee sale, the number 1 thing you have to make sure is, number 1, you're buying lien number 1. Number 2, what are the taxes that are owed? Are the taxes sold? Is there any tax issue? Number 3, you have to make sure, is the property still standing? I mean, I've seen people go to the sheriff's sale, they look on Google as if Mark Zuckerberg is out there with his video camera and taking a picture yesterday, that the property is still standing. Literally in Hillside, this happened on a property on Oak Ridge, where I know somebody, they bought a property and the property had already been demoed by the village, right? And because the property needed structural work, they look on Google, oh yeah, and go bid on the property, and literally it was a pile of rubble. So number 1, you have to make sure the title is good. Number 2, you have to make sure no back tax issues and the property has not, the deed has not already been sold. Number 3 is you have to make sure property is still standing, condition of the property from outside. Is the property occupied or not? Those are the 3 most important things that you need to check if you're going to buy the property at a sheriff sale. And this is not a game for amateurs, because you have to pay 100% of the price in cash within 24 hours. 100%. So at the time of auction, you put up 10%, 15%. Right there, and then within 24 hours, you have to come up with all the rest of the cash. No loan whatsoever, period, allowed. And if you don't, you're going to lose the 10 or 15%, and you're going to be banned from the future auctions. So this is really, 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 really very important to pay attention whenever you're doing that. Next question was, how about the debt coverage ratio? So this is a question that Ozzy was asking. Debt coverage ratio loans. What are they exactly? Who can qualify to use them? How to best use and scale up with the properties? When can a beginner investor expect to begin utilizing DSCR? So, and what are the best practices? Okay, so let's kind of put this in perspective. Number 1, let's understand what he's talking about. So he's talking about a DSCR loan. What is a DSCR? He called it DCRL, so it's actually DSCR. So what that means is a DSCR loan is a loan that is used by real estate investors to buy investment properties. So whenever you buy a regular property, when you buy a home to live in, or you buy a home under your name, your personal name, at that point, and you get a Fannie or Freddie loan, meaning a loan from the government, right? It's basically a federally regulated loan. When you get that, it's based on your income. How much money do you make? How much is your income? What is your personal credit score, right? The problem with that is this. Number one, you can't scale up as quickly. Number two, you can only max get up to 10 loans like that. So one of them is going to be your house that you live in, and then you have 9 slots left. And it's very, very difficult for people to qualify based on their personal income only, right? Hence, for real estate investors, there is a product which is called a DSCR loan. So what does that mean, right? That's an industry term, but what does that mean in simple words? What that means is that, hey, I'm buying a rental property to be able to cash flow, hopefully to be able to collect rental income for the long period of time, and I wanted to do a commercial loan. Why a commercial loan? Because commercial loan is because, number one, it's not in my personal name, it's in a LLC or it's in a S Corp, generally not a C Corp. Generally, it's going to be an S Corp, or most of the time, it's going to be an LLC. So the advantage of doing that is that you don't have to qualify personally. As long as you have a credit score about 660 and up, ideally closer to 700, but about 660 and up, you can get the loan. It's not based on whether you personally have a job or whether you do not have a job, right? It's not based on whether you filed taxes last year or you did not. This loan is pretty much all based on the cash flow of the property, meaning it's based on as long as the property cash flows, then you can get the loan. And today, and this is a bad business practice, but today lenders are doing it, that on a 1-to-1 ratio, they're willing to underwrite the loan. What does that mean? What that means is that your payments on the property are $2,000 and that you collect $2,000 in rent. They're willing to go ahead and give you the loan. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio, which I don't think is a smart idea to buy a property that way. In Mastery, we look at something called DSCR. So DSCR is the type of loan. We look at what is called a debt coverage ratio. That means 1.33 is the debt coverage ratio. So you have about 25 to 30% safety margin when you are buying a property. That's how we do it within Mastery, but regular lenders today, commercial lenders are allowing 1-to-1 ratio. You collect $2,000 and your payments are $2,000 and they're okay with those loans. I think that's absolutely crazy, but that's just my personal opinion. So when do you use that loan? You use that loan anytime that you want to build scale. Meaning, if you're going to buy one property and that's all you're going to do, then you can do it with a residential loan. You buy the property with either private money funds, or you buy the property with, if you're doing it with your funds or with hard money. And then if you wait 6 months, then you can do a residential loan. Whereas with this loan, you can do it in 90 days. You bought the property, you rehab the property, you go back within 90 days, get the property appraised, and boom, you can basically refinance the entire amount out that you put in the property, as so 75% of the amount. So let's just say hypothetically, you bought a property for $150,000, you put $50,000 in work. Now the property is worth $300,000, right? So immediately, as soon as you're done with the work, you can put a 75% loan on that particular property. So $300,000, take 75% of that, and boom, you can put a loan on it and get all of that money refinanced. And guess what? You can start building a portfolio. So a DSCR loan is used to build a large portfolio in a short amount of time with commercial loans, and you're just the guarantor. The property does not show up on your personal credit. So that's when you use that, and this is a loan product that is great, especially in today's market, for anybody, literally anybody. Why you would do a loan on a residential loan, right? Doesn't make sense to me. Now, I know some people that are listening to this, they're like, but Andrew, I can get a residential loan about 1% cheaper. You can, but I promise you, you will never be able to scale up that way. You may be able to do 2 or 3 loans. And if you're thinking in terms of saving 1%, I'm not, guys, I'm all for saving money, but when you're building a business, it's not about saving 1%. The question is, how many more percents am I letting go because I'm trying to save 1%. A business person does not look at the cost of something. A business person looks at the overall advantage. Doing a DSCR loan, you can scale up at a humongous rate. That's why you do a DSCR loan. So I hope that makes sense. Matt had a interesting question, which is like, how do you determine if you're going to flip or rent a property? Well, the way I always do it and the way we always try to teach in Mastery is that anytime you touch a property, you think about a property, you see a property, you should always, first choice should be, I got to keep it, right? Because that's the highest thing you're going to have over a period of time. How do I keep a property? Now, the reality is there are going to be properties that don't make sense to keep. They're not good quality rentals based on the numbers and based on your personal situation. So every time the highest, right, the lowest degree is going to be a wholesale. Then it's going to be the next level of investing is going to be flips. The highest degree of investing is always properties that you keep. But some properties disqualify themselves. So I'll give you an example. What if I find a property where there's great margin, but it's in a D area or it's in a C- area? Guess what? Love to keep it, but it's not in an area that meets my criteria. So I'm going to sell it, I'm going to flip out of it, or I'm going to wholesale it out, right? So I'm going to base it on three things generally. Number one, I'm going to look at what is my profile, meaning where am I in my investment journey? Number two, what is the property? What is best, highest and best use of the property given my particular situation, right? So at some point, when a lot of times when people get started, sometimes they have to do more flips than rentals. Why? Because they need income. Today, I don't need the earned income. I have plenty of earned income, right? I have plenty of cash flow income, but I'm trying to keep growing my cash flow income. So today, my propensity is going to be to keep the property as much as possible unless the area is not an area where I want to invest in, the tenant pool is not there, then I'm going to wholesale or I'm going to flip out of that particular property. So hope that makes sense, but it's also going to be based on who you are and where you are in your investment journey. So, Rose has a question. I have a property that I plan to fix for long-term rental. Is there a way I can access cash to do the rehab? So Rose, I'm not sure if you are from Mastery or not. If you're not, it's okay. It's no big deal. But the two or three different things I would think about. Number one is, I would like to know, number one, is this property owned for cash or do you have debt on this property, right? Because that'll make a difference whether you can get a loan for fixing up the property. That's number one. Number two is that if you don't have any debt on the property, you can easily get a loan. If you're from Mastery, you can easily get a loan from one of the private money lenders. They'll do the loan in 2 minutes. It wouldn't be an issue at all. If you're not from Mastery, the way I would do it is I would go to National RE Funding, fill out your information and put in there that, hey, I have an exact same thing what you said to me. Jesse will reach out to you and he will tell you that, hey, this is what I can do given on your particular situation, if the property already has a loan or if it does not have a loan. Even if it has a loan and you have equity in the property, you can do a fix and flip type of a loan on the property, get some money out, fix the property, get it rented, and then refinance the property. So there's a couple of different ways of going about this. If you need any more help, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to explain how you do this. Having said that, guys, this has been fun. I have to do a Mastery webinar here in about half an hour. So we are going to wrap up for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the Q&A for today. Please keep sending us questions and answers. We would love to answer them for you. Congratulations to a lot of the people that are brand new from the new Masteries already. Finding properties is exciting for all of us to see that. Having said that, we'll wrap up for today. Talk to you on Friday, same place, same time, 5:30. And remember, we are the #1 source for information as it comes to investing right here in the Chicagoland area. Talk to you soon.